Disclaimer. None of the songs, including intro, artworks, including thumbnail, or characters in the video are mine. This is not an accurate portrayal of the characters. This is not a defamation of character either. This is only for entertainment. Warning. Foul language, grammatical mistakes, typographical errors. Kagami jerked awake when he felt a sudden heat on his legs. What the? He stopped when a groan came from his right, reminding him of the fact that Oiko was still curled up on his side. He smiled softly at the man, brushing a hair behind his ear, only to wince when he felt another stinging heat on his leg. He looked to the bottom of the bed to see Tiger staring at him and Kevin glaring at him. Oh right. He winced again, knowing that for some reason, the lava blob doesn't really like him, and that he's probably the source of the stinging heat. He sighed before slowly and carefully extracting himself from Oiko's arms and replacing his body with a pillow. Let's go then. It's still too early to be awake, in Kagami's humble opinion, but he has a responsibility to take care of the kids, especially since Oiko is probably too tired to do so. He's not gonna wake the older man up to do something Kagami is capable of doing. So, despite the knowledge that the kids don't really like him, Kagami picked them up carefully and brought them to the kitchen. So what so you guys want to eat? He put them on the counter gently. Blueberry pancakes. Kevin shouted, his lava arms up in the air, while Tiger just let out a small meow before proceeding to climb onto one of the cupboards, open it, and pull out the cat food. Kagami just blinked. Okay then. Kagami opened the cat food and put it in Tiger's bowl before preparing the ingredients for the blueberry pancake. While Kagami was cooking, Kevin and Tiger was watching him silently. He wondered to himself why Tiger isn't eating yet in spite of his food sitting in front of him. But then Kevin just patted Tiger's head while Tiger plopped onto his side and onto the lava side, his purr echoing in the small space. Kevin didn't look perturbed. He just sat there watching Kagami's every move. Koa? Kevin spoke after a few minutes of silence. Kagami blinked, surprised that Kevin was talking to him. It took him a while to make sense of what Kevin said. Oh, Oikoa-san's asleep. He's tired. Is he okay? Kagami smiled at that. He finds it utterly endearing how adorable Kevin is when he's worried and concerned, even if that concern won't even apply to him. Still with a smile on his face, Kagami looked back at and hoped that his smile is reassuring enough. He will be. Now, he started as he put the pancakes in front of Kevin. What do you guys normally do after you wake up? Kevin poked 3 pancakes with a fork, shoved it inside his mouth in one go, and Kagamo watched with great fascination as the pancakes immediately dissolve inside the lava. Koa takes us to Granny and Granny helps me finish the workbooks Dada bought me. Oh okay. Kagami scratched his head. He doesn't want to leave the kids unattended, but he doesn't want Oikoa to wake up alone as well. Not after last night. He doesn't want Oikoa to wake up without him on his side when he promised last night that he won't leave. He observed Kevin and Tiger eat for a few moments, contemplating on what to do. I think Kevin is mature enough to be left alone. Kevin may have only been alive for a few weeks, but in those few weeks, he learned how to speak full sentences, how to morph into a human figure, how to walk on 2 legs despite having no bones, and how to cook. Change of plans. How about you guys watch some TV for now, then after Oikoa-san wakes up, we'll take you to Granny. Okay. Kevin replied briefly before he inhales another set of pancakes. I cooked enough pancakes so that in case you get hungry and Oikoa-san still isn't awake, you have something to eat. I can cook. Kevin huffed haughtily. Does your father allow you to cook alone? Kevin pouted. No, I can't reach things. Kagami smiled at him, not daring to touch the blob. Okay. Kagami watched the 2 finish eating before washing the dishes and picking both of them up again and depositing them on the couch and played a kid-friendly movie. You didn't eat. I didn't. Why? You don't like pancakes? Kagami's still amazed and maybe slightly terrified at how fast Kevin's learning. He doesn't know if that makes Atsumu and Midorima some kind of geniuses. Then he remembered how Kevin was made. Yeah no, those 2 are definitely not geniuses. He shook his head with a slight laugh before he answered Kevin, who's glaring at him again, thinking that Kagami was laughing at him. I like pancakes. I just want to eat with Oikoa-san. Oh, okay. Kagami smiled at him again before going back to the room, relieved that Oikoa's still asleep. He slowly climbed up the bed, careful not to wake Oikoa up before wrapping the smaller redhead in a hug. He smiled when Oikoa, even in his sleep, wiggled closer to the warmth until he was fully engulfed, almost unseen, by Kagami. Kagami's heart fluttered in happiness. Fuck. I love you. He pressed a small kiss on top of Oikoa's head, and with a smile on his face, Kagami fell asleep. Oikoa woke up to blissful warmth and a killer headache. He moaned slightly, both in pain and comfort, before snuggling closer to the source of the warmth. Hajame's always been warm, he thought. It's been quite a while since both of them had the time to relax, so Oikoa really appreciates this moment, before they both have to go do their responsibilities. Hajime with college, and Oikoa with his therapy. Oikoa buried his nose into the crook of Hajame's neck, smelling his boyfriend's scent. He blinked slightly awake when the scent was wrong. It's not the same, he thought. Similar, but not the same. He can't put his finger on what was different, just that he knows that it is. The first thing Oikoa saw was red, and that's all he needed to remember everything. And the comfort turned to all-encompassing pain. The blissful warmth turned to biting cold, and the scent permeating his nose, even if different to Hajame's, just the fact that it's slightly similar, is making him nauseous. Oikoa bit his lip hard enough for blood to come out just so he could stifle the sob that came out suddenly. But even when he didn't make a sound, the body beside him, Kagami, his mind reminded, moved, as if sensing that he was in distress. Good morning, Oikoa-san. Kagami's deep and husky voice made Oikoa look up. Kagami was looking at him with both worry and sympathy. Kagami brought a large and gentle hand up to caress Oikoa's face, using his thumb to wipe stray tears away. Kagami didn't ask why he's crying. He just wiped Oikoa's tears away, pulled him closer, and let Oikoa calm down. This close, Oikoa focused on the difference of their scents, Kagami's and Iwaizumi's, and he could finally pick out the difference. They both smelled slightly like mint, like salonpas, like rubber, but that's about it. Iwaizumi smelled like salonpas, with the undercurrent of mint, rubber, tea, pencils, ink, paper, and chocolate. He's always had a sweet tooth. Kagami smelled like salonpas, like mint, like rubber, but the rubber was stronger, not an afterthought like Iwaizumi's. Then he smelled of herbs and spice, of flowers, of earth, then smoke, but not the smoke that smells bad. No, it's the kind of smoke you smell in the kitchen wafting off your food, daring you to take a bite. Then he smelled of something sweet, like sugar, and butter, blueberries his mind supplied, and Oikoa couldn't stop a smile at that. He took a few more moments just basking in Kagami's scent and his warmth. Then he peeked out from under him, and with a small but genuine smile, Oikoa spoke. Good morning. Kagami's eyes scanned Oikoa's face to look for something wrong. When he found nothing, he relaxed and smiled at him before tucking a stray piece of hair behind Oikoa's ear. You hungry? Yes. I made pancakes. But if you don't want that, I can cook other things. Oikoa blinked slowly at him. Pancakes, he thought. That's what I smelled from him. Oikoa looked like an excited kid who just got gold star in class. Kagami huffed out an amused laugh. He might not know why Oikoa looks like that, but he doesn't care. As long as he looks happy, with his eyes sparkling in joy, then Kagami's happy. Come on, Oikoa-san. We have to get up. Number. Oikoa whined as he tightened his grip on Kagami. Warm. Yeah, warm. Oikoa whispered as he pulled Kagami back to him. Kagami let out a surprised laugh. You're starting to sound like Atsumu-san. Oikoa hummed non-committally. Well, I am in Hyogo and most if not all I talk to have accents. I guess it's rubbing off on me. But Atsumu-san's accent isn't that obvious anymore. I noticed when his parents were talking. They had thicker accents. Yes, well, a lot of people didn't really understand when he talks because his accent is so thick and he talks fast, so he practiced talking normally. That's a shame. Oikoa hummed in agreement. He always liked his best friend's accent. Although it was difficult to understand, it also sounded good. Atsumu's gotten good at changing his accent, especially since his main motivation is so Sakusa could understand him more easily. Oikoa wishes it would go back though. He finds Atsumu's accent absolutely adorable, especially when he speaks in Kansei Ben. Okay, we have to get up and eat now, Oikoa-san. Oikoa grumbled unintelligently, his words muffled in Kagami's arms. The kids. Oikoa gasped. The kids. He stood up hastily, only to stumble and plop down on the bed because his head spun with the sudden motion. He groaned, clutching his head while Kagami just sat there watching and shaking his head at him with an amused smile. Kagami put his arm under Aora and picked him up princess style. Like that night in Hokkaido, the night he realized he liked Aora more than what's appropriate for two people who just met each other, more than just a friend. So, Kagami started as both of them walked back to the house after taking the kids to Granny. Kagami's hand wrapped around Aora's wrist, with his index and middle finger pressed on the older's pulse. The sight of the Aora last night reawakened Kagami's protectiveness, and maybe his fear as well. He needs to make sure that Aora's still alive, and somehow, just seeing him isn't enough anymore. Kagami so badly wants to embrace and press his ear on Aora's chest so he could hear his heartbeat, but that's a bit inappropriate, so he just settled on being able to feel his pulse. Just the feeling of Aora's pulse beneath his fingers relieves him so much that it could send him to his knees. What are we gonna do? Don't you have training? They're actually just about to arrive today. I just came here earlier. Oh. Do you have plans? Well, I'm supposed to go to Osaka today for a photoshoot. No. Aora raised an eyebrow. No. Kagami repeated with a huge grin. You're going to rest today. We can do something fun. Lick what? How about a contest? Aora looked intrigued, excited, and competitive. Kagami's grin grew wider. He loves seeing the fire in Aora's eyes, looking like he'll consume everything if given the chance to. Kagami would gladly burn and serve as kindling to Aora's fire if that's what it takes to keep it burning. About what? A baking challenge? Aora's eyes softened at that. He felt touched that Kagami remembers that he stress bakes. Sure. But we still have to go and get groceries, and I need to inform Kelly that I won't be going today. The two redheads entered the house and went straight to the bedroom so Aora could grab some clothes to change into. He paused at the door as he examined the room with a guilty frown, his body sagging in sudden exhaustion. I'm sorry for the mess. I didn't even notice. And the room was messy. Clothes that hadn't been put away. Plastic wrappers on the floor. Random stuff that's out of place and were forgotten. And a huge pile of scrap papers on the side of the bed. It was messy. Nothing like Aora. Aora sighed in frustration. I wasn't really in the mood to clean up ever since Atsumu left. And the room wasn't really this messy, so I just postponed cleaning up. Aora's tearing up in frustration. But then everything piled up and it frustrated me, but I didn't know where to start or how to start, and I was just really tired and not in the mood. And for some reason I thought that making paper cranes are going to fix anything, so I did that instead of cleaning. But they just contributed to the mess, and Aora sighed. He hates the mess. But he's been feeling so overwhelmed ever since Atsumu left, and it's only been a few days. It was hard for him to even get up in the morning to cook and even eat. But the kids are thankfully there to remind him, because if they aren't, Aora wouldn't get up at all. But that's why he sent the kids to Granny, because he doesn't want them to see him be so pathetic. And it's also why he goes to Osaka for the modeling on days without his therapy rather than going on the same day, because he doesn't want to be left alone in the house. It's exhausting, yes, but he felt like if he stayed in for an entire day even with the kids, he'd waste away into nothingness. Kagami rubbed circles on Aora's pulse to calm him down. Hey, Aora-san, it's fine. No, it's not. I'm an adult with responsibilities. I can't just pause everything just so I could wallow in self-pity. It's not wallowing. It's taking a much needed break. You are allowed to be selfish once in a while, you know. Adults need to live their lives too, you know. And that doesn't always mean being responsible. Sometimes, you just need to relax. Isn't that why we fight to live? In hopes that one day we could enjoy it? Aora sighed again before turning to Kagami and burying his face on his chest. Kagami automatically put a hand on the small of Aora's back and rested his chin on top of Aora's head. Come on, Aora-san. I'll help you clean up and then we can go shop for ingredients. Thank you. No problem. No, seriously. Thank you. You're doing so much for me and I can't even reciprocate them. I'm being such a burden to you. No, you're not. You're not a burden, Aora-san. You're never a burden. Kagami tightened his hold on Aora to assure him, pressing a small kiss on the crown of Aora's head. Not to me. Aora stood up straight as he wiped the unshed tears from his eyes. I feel so much better when I'm with you. Since only the room was really dirty, Aora didn't want the kids to see the mess, so he kept it inside. They finished cleaning up pretty quick. Aora wanted to throw away the paper cranes, but Kagami convinced him to keep them closed up in a box. In case someone gets sick, he said. Plus, he thought it would be a good activity for the kids, and might help improve motor skills and brain development. Aora only laughed at that, but he agreed with Kagami's idea. So now a box full of paper cranes are hidden below the bed. Somehow, not only did the room look brighter after, Aora did too. It's like a weight was lifted off his shoulders. After that, Aora went to take a shower, and he brightened up even more. As Aora's fixing his hair, Kagami notices that his roots are showing, and that his hair is now past his jaw. Are you planning on dyeing your hair again? Aora paused his movements to look at his hair. I shouldn't L? Kagami just hummed. Are you going to keep on dyeing it? Probably not. Hopefully not. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't like it. I do. Especially since I don't see her in the mirror with it was left unsaid. Aora is a bit confused actually. Why does his dyed hair give him so much comfort? He could say that it's because he can't see her in the mirror anymore. And maybe that's true. A little bit anyways. The red hair sets them apart. But the thing is, it's not that drastic of a change. Red isn't that much different from brown. And they still look alike, even with his hair dyed so why? Then he realized, it's not because his hair is dyed that gives him comfort. It's because it's dyed red. The first thing Aora sees when he looks in the mirror isn't her face, but Kagami's hair. The red gives him comfort, just like the person he associates it with brings him comfort. With that realization, Aora looked up and met Kagami's eyes through the mirror. He smiled at the younger redhead. I just don't have the patience to get my hair dyed so often, he continued. Then his smile became wider as mischief sparked in his eyes. And don't tell Atsumu this, but Aora looked around, afraid that the blonde would suddenly show up out of nowhere. Seeing the coast clear, he beckoned Kagami closer. Kagami leaned down and Aora cupped a hand on his mouth as he whispered in Kagami's ear. I don't want my hair to dry like his. He snickered in Kagami's ear and the younger had to suppress a shiver at that. Aora moved away but still kept his voice low. He's getting better at taking care of his hair, so it's slowly improving and becoming softer, but sheesh. With the previous color and the dryness, it might as well be a broom. Kagami laughed, then covered his mouth in guilt and fear as he too looked around the room, afraid that Atsumu will suddenly appear. Besides, Aora spoke as he continued brushing his hair. I'm afraid that much hair dye is gonna make me go bald before I'm even 30. The both of them muffled their laughter, as if Atsumu could hear them. Somewhere in Kyoto, Atsumu's eyes squinted in suspicion as he muttered to himself. Koa, you bitch. Their laughter slowly tapered off, vanishing into a comfortable silence. Kagami lifted his hand to gently take the brush from Aora's hand. Are you gonna be okay? Will you be able to take seeing her in the mirror again? Aora's eyes softened. He would normally be angry, his pride getting bruised, and taking Kagami's worry as pity. That or he would brush it off with a joke. But Aora knows Kagami. The younger has never showed Aora anything but genuine care. More care and more honesty than most of the people in Aora's life had given him. Aora could be vulnerable all he wants in front of Kagami. He knows he'll never be judged. He can't stop the guilt from forming, though Kagami's seen Aora at his lowest point so many times. Not only that, he's the one who held him up when he couldn't even bear to stand. Kagami's also carrying Aora's burden at this point, and he doesn't need that. Kagami doesn't need to carry Aora's burdens on top of his, but Aora doesn't think he can stand on his own yet. So selfishly, he swallowed his guilt, and just trusted Kagami fully, and wholeheartedly. One day, Aora thought, one day I'll pay you back. I'll be fine, I think. I have to be. But for now, I'm going to dye it a couple more times. Let it grow. I've always wanted to have long hair. Unfortunately, it's not really practical in sports. And I'm not about to sacrifice volleyball for aesthetics. Aora smiled wider as stared straight into Kagami's eyes through the mirror. But I don't have to worry about that right now. I'm gonna enjoy long hair before I go back to volleyball. Aora swallowed tightly as he looked down on his hands, his voice turning into a whisper. And hopefully by then, I can bear to look at myself in the mirror again. Kagami studied Aora for a few moments, looking for something. When he found it, he huffed out a laugh. Would like me to help you style your hair then? Alex always made me and Tatsuya do her hair, except Tatsuya's better at escaping, so the responsibility is almost always mine. I'm pretty good at it, if I do say so myself. Aora blinked at that, his heart filling with relief. At the same time, something unidentifiably heavy. Such a simple offer. It's not even that deep, but Aora still felt like he could cry. He felt as if the words were a promise, a vow to stay with him no matter what, to always be there whether or not Aora needs him. I'd love that. They smiled at each other before Kagami went back to combing through Aikora's hair, and if Aikora's voice shook and full of something heavy, and if his eyes were wet with tears, and if his lips wobbled slightly, well, it's a good thing Kagami was busy with Aikora's hair.